Well, it's been 5 days and the search for the missing AN-32 flight continues. The Indian Air Force has launched extensive efforts to locate the missing flight that went missing on the 3rd of June. ISRO had deployed its 2 satellites to track the missing flight as well. Remember, the aircraft had taken off from the Jorhat airfield with 13 passengers on board, all personnel of the Indian Air Force. Their families are now encouraging the government or urging the government to intensify their search operations. But 5 days in, satellites, aircrafts, and various other equipment pushed into the job of looking for this aircraft, and no luck yet. On the phone line with me is Manu Pabi, the senior editor at Economic Times, who's been tracking defense for a very, very long time. Manu, good evening and thank you for joining us. This is obviously, with every passing day, hope dwindles for these families even more.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is correct. It's been, like you pointed out, 4 days and counting. In the terrain where the aircraft was lost, given the past experiences there of similarly lost aircraft, the hope really has diminished. Remember, this area is very, very thickly forested. There is no place where even if you have a fault and you want to land, that you could possibly. It is thickly forested. So yes, I mean, I would imagine that the aircraft, if it had survivors, they would have been able to make contact with somebody because it was equipped with emergency systems of communication. So the absence of all of that and the absence of any sign of wreckage is very bad news indeed.
Well, Manu, we also had that conversation of the fact that there is supposed to be an SOS beacon that goes out of this aircraft if it hits salt water or if it has an impact. But that SOS beam is obviously not coming out of that aircraft right now because the satellite has not been able to pick it up and no other radar is picking it up.
Yeah, that is correct. So the SOS locator is supposed to work, when the aircraft crashes in with a certain force. It's supposed to be activated and be detected, but unfortunately that's not happened. There could be multiple reasons for that. It could have been a failure, or it is just possible the aircraft has gone into some crevice or valley in which the signal is not able to be detected. So yeah, there is certainly a failure for the emergency locator on board, and we've seen that this has been a recurrent problem. Remember, in 2016, the AN-32 that was lost off Andamans, it has still not been recovered. There's no sign of it, and in the same instance, you didn't find any location, any signal, any emergency message from that plane as well.
Manu, what information have you picked up so far from the families of these 13 personnel? Were they all of officer rank, and are the families now reaching out to the government? Because 5 days is an awfully long time to wait for information.
Yeah, so it was a mixed crew. So there were an unusually large number of officers on board because I believe they were doing a crew exchange, but there were, of course, other ranks also on board. What I believe is that the families have been reached out to by the ministry. In fact, some of them came and met the Minister Rajnath Singh yesterday, who did brief them on, search efforts. So the families are, they are, of course, rightly so very, very concerned. They have asked the government to intensify search. Some family members have even asked India to reach out to China in the hope that the aircraft crossed over, though I think that's very unlikely because the border is still far away from there. So yeah, they are clinging on to all kinds of hope, and their one request has been the government has been to intensify and put all efforts. But from my knowledge and my speaking to people who are involved in the search process, I think we are doing everything we can. I mean, just imagine we even deployed the Navy aircraft there. We have fighter aircrafts, we have helicopter crews, we have ground personnel. So the terrain and the place that it is, I think an all-out effort is at place, but still no trace.
We also have Air Marshal Kapil Kak join us on the phone line right now. Air Marshal Kak, good evening and thank you for joining us. Obviously, like Manu was telling us, that the search and rescue has gone on now for 5 days. It's obviously going to be more and more difficult with every passing day to maintain hope that these 13 officers or these 13 personnel of the Indian Air Force will be found. How distressing do you think this is? From your experience as being part of the Air Force, what do you think is going on in terms of morale for the rest of the force or the rest of the fleet who are watching this?
No, I think one needs to understand that Air Force, both the professionals who fly the machines and their spouses and families, they accept a certain element of risk and situations, as you just described, as distressing, which could arise. And so I think we tend to live with it. It's, of course, hugely painful for the families because there is uncertainty. And as Manu rightly put it, there is, and I done 5 years of my first initial years of life only in the hills, from morning to afternoon. That is where I lived all my life for 5 years. In this particular sector, Jorhat to Mechuka particularly, the valleys, the clouds, the terrain, the tree canopy, that deadly combination makes spotting an aircraft which has crashed very, very difficult. Crashed or crash landed, we don't know yet. But the efforts will continue. The viewers are more than aware that there is an aircraft, AN-32, similar type, which was flying from Chennai to Port Blair.
Yes.
And one had to give up hope after a few days. Every effort was made to locate that. Unfortunately, these machines carry, and there is no, I mean, media have carried out some stories recently that we don't have a modern, emergency locator beacon, ELB, which gives, which transmits signals which can be picked up by the aircraft which are looking for this aircraft. Unfortunately, we don't have, even in the most state-of-the-art world of civil aviation. Everyone remembers MH370.
Yes.
It was carrying 9 emergency locator beacons,
Yes.
state of the art, and yet we have not found.
Well, Air Vice Marshal Kak, I want to also ask you this: if let's assume it has been nearly 5 days now, and you said there's a possibility it might have crash landed and not crashed. Would the aircraft, and I know that I'm expecting you right now to, to perhaps speculate, would the aircraft carry enough food or water or supplies for those on board to survive in the hills for 5 days or 6 days?
Faye, I'll be very frank. I had my first crash landing within 2 months of my commissioning. But it was fortunately in the Kashmir Valley on a riverbed. So it was fortuitously for us less of a problem because the villagers came with all the help they could give to us, and I'm talking about half a century back. But in this particular situation, because this is all jungle, this is all hills and jungles together and very sparse population. So, and you carry nothing to cater for a situation like that. None of us, no aircraft in the world which are transporting supplies carry stuff so that in case there is a crash landing, they can sort of survive. But in these situations, there is a survival course. Every pilot, every crew in the Air Force goes, you eat snakes, you eat whatever is available. Because in such emergency situations, you're not looking for the normal food that you ate because it's either death or survival. So I think crash landing, to my mind, I just mentioned. I don't know what the circumstances have been, whether there have been space enough for them to crash land or just crashing into a hill at very high G forces, which almost 22 G compared to the maximum G load any other, even a fighter aircraft can take, is about 9G. So you know what I'm trying to describe. So in these kind of situations, it is for the organizers, the command structure, the nation per se, which has to put in all the resources it has at its command to ensure that we locate it. But as I said, there could be situations like the one involving the AN-32 from Chennai to Port Blair, where you may have to at one stage give up and very deeply, distressfully go to the families and say that we have tried our best. I hope it doesn't happen in this case, and we will be able to locate, because once we have located the wreckage and the people, then it's not a tough call at all, because climbers, mountaineers, trekkers, very specialized people who operate in that terrain can get there. We won't have helicopters being able to use this, maybe through what we call people rafting down the helicopter and pulling them up. That is the only possibility.
All right, Air Marshal Kapilkak and Manu Pabi, many thanks for joining us on the phone line. This is an extremely important story. 13 personnel of the Indian Air Force were on board that aircraft that went missing over 4 days ago. They haven't been heard from since. There has been an extensive search and rescue program to look for any signs of that aircraft over the very wooded hills, the forests where it has gone missing. And hope is still alive that we will find these officers and we will find them soon. There is, there are, of course, families who are waiting for news. They're encouraging, or they've urged the government from news reports, and they've met with Defence Minister Rajnath Singh. They've urged him to increase the intensity of the search operation so that they have the information of their loved ones as soon as possible. Our prayers and our thoughts are with those 13 Air Force personnel and their families as the search continues, and we hope we can bring them back very soon. Moving on to the conversation that we're having today. The police in Uttar Pradesh have suspended several of their officers for failing to file the FIR in the case of the child that was murdered in Aligarh. Remember, we did this conversation just yesterday where we demanded that the police take action. The police have now suspended some of their own people. But the question is, will it bring the child back? No. Will it heal the pain of this family? No, it won't. Has the police failed to do its job? Could this child have been saved? And most importantly, the question that everybody's asking tonight is this: why is it, even though we have strict laws of POCSO, of prevention of crime against children, we have these horrible, disgusting, blood-chilling crimes that continue to happen to our babies in this country? How do we make this stop? Take a look at today's update.
A day after Mirror Now's coverage and nationwide outrage over the 2-year-old child's brutal murder, Uttar Pradesh police finally wakes up. Earlier, the police did not immediately file an FIR when the parents complained that the child had gone missing. Now, 182 hours after the child went missing, the police slapped NSA charges on the 2 main suspects. 5 police officials who refused to take action initially have now been suspended.
We are going to impose NSA also, National Security Act, against these accused so that they don't get bailed out in the coming future.
उनके लिए एक SIT का गठन लोकल स्तर पर किया गया है, जिसकी अध्यक्षता SPRA अलीगढ़ कर रहे हैं, और इस SIT में वहाँ के CO, कुछ इन्वेस्टिगेटर्स लगाए गए हैं, फोरेंसिक साइंस की टीम लगाई गई है, SOG लगाई गई है, और पूरे टीम ऑफ एक्सपर्ट्स लगाया गया है.
And still later, buckling to media pressure as a face saver, Uttar Pradesh police invoked the POCSO Act.
Now the police has now set up the SIT also, and in fact they have added the section of POCSO, and they have also preserved the vaginal swab of the girl so that they could ascertain whether there was any kind of sexual assault had happened or not. After the initial lapses into this case, now the police has woken up and the family is still in the shock, and they said that whether, in fact they asked the question from the police whether they would actually get the justice or not.
Tonight, Mirror Now asks, why did the UP police wake up so late? Could the 2-year-old have been saved if the police had acted on time? Let's debate.
So why do these horrible crimes continue to happen? The POCSO laws in our country that are meant to protect children against crimes of a sexual nature are extremely stringent. But it's not deterring people from committing these crimes. We have a death sentence for anyone who rapes a girl under the age of 12. Ideally, that death sentence should also apply to anyone who rapes a boy under the age of 12. But it's not stopping them from doing so. Is it the police? Is it our lack of implementation? Is this why we constantly have to face realities of this kind in our country? We have to ask ourselves these questions, because while we cannot bring back this young girl, this little baby, and return her to her parents, we need to find out what needs to be done to make sure no other babies wind up in boxes. Tina Sharma for the BJP, Abha Singh, advocate and activist, Aniket Nikam is a criminal lawyer, Sipal Singh, former IGP of Punjab, Ranjana Kumari, director for the Centre of Social Research, and Shamina Shafiq is a former member of the National Commission for Women. Good evening and thank you for joining us on the show. Ranjana ji, I want to start with you. Is it the implementation of the law? Is it the fact that our laws are not strong enough? Is it the fact that the police failed this little girl? Why? Why do these things happen in our country?
Well, Faye, look at this whole scenario which is painted repeatedly in the same manner. Police fails to act. Police was informed almost, for 36 hours they did not even register an FIR. Then they registered FIR and they did not act. They asked the parents, "Tum bhi dhoondho, hum bhi dhoondenge." So that's the whole approach of the police. And then finally, when the punishment comes, then the police is only suspended. And also all kinds of, I do not know how POCSO works here, because till now the rape has not been established. How NSA is being, really, what kind of a punishment will come by when you really have NSA on such people who are responsible for brutally killing a baby? So I do not see any relationship, first of all. And then also, Section 166 was added to our law because we knew that police does not register the cases in time. They don't act. They are not going to find out where the babies are. Thousands of children go missing. Police doesn't act. So they must be punished. That was the provision in the law. But never ever have you heard of any policeman being booked under 166. Why should you have this IPC at all? So that's the whole scenario. So we are breeding monsters in our society who have not spared a little innocent infant, not even a baby, an infant whose hands were broken, all kinds. I don't want to describe all that, because that hurts us all so badly. But at the same time, what about the system? What about these people? What about having the law? You said, should we have good laws, Faye? We do have good laws. There are also politically motivated laws saying that everybody will be hanged. If you rape a minor, they will be hanged. Have you ever heard of any kind of fast-track decision on these issues? And also on the top of that, look at the lawlessness in state of UP. I mean, here is this chief minister who goes around, does his puja, he's doing all kinds of things. No MLA, no MP worth any significance, any politician visits that family. All kinds of wishy-washy is being done now. Even the statement of the two people who have been arrested has not been taken in front of the magistrate. They have only spoken to the police, which will not be admissible in the law. So that means police personnel are being, they are scot-free, because after some time you will see them, you will forget, everybody else will forget, they will be really somewhere else posted. And also this whole case will get entangled into this SIT investigating NSA aspect of it. What is NSA here? And also POCSO aspect of it, because it's not been confirmed. In fact, the SSP said that she's not been raped with looking at the post-mortem report. So looking at all these situations, botching up starts from the day one. And this is not this is scenario repeat and repeat and repeat. And that is why our babies are not safe, our women are not safe, these monsters are all over the country, perhaps in our own neighborhood, your neighborhood.
Let me bring in Tina Sharma of the BJP. Ms. Sharma, before I bring in the rest of the panel, I want you to just respond to what Ranjana ji has said about the fact that no one from the BJP Uttar Pradesh has visited the family so far, that the statements of the accused, even though the press were told that they confessed to the police, it's not admissible in court. Why weren't they presented before a magistrate? Why weren't their statements recorded before a magistrate, which is the hardest evidence you could possibly have? Is the police slowing this down in some way? Why aren't they doing their jobs?
So on the update of, BJP people visiting the victim's family, I have no update, because I was hospitalized, went under, surgery operation. and I couldn't see TV for last 3 days. So I mean, you have to excuse me on that.
Well,
but yes, of course, for other things, I'll say that
well, Ms.
it's
Sharma, I'm sorry to
completely
hear that,
shocked,
and I
and
hope
we are
you feel
saddened.
better soon. But
we are
yes,
actually
go ahead.
saddened, and you know, it's. I'm absolutely okay. I'm absolutely okay. Thank you. So I couldn't see TV for the last 3 days. I'm really sorry for it. But anyways, I mean, it's something which is, I mean, no one can justify. Ranjana ji knows me very well that I don't justify such kind of things sitting on the television debate, even being as a spokesperson. Yes, there are, you know, failures with the police. Not just, I'm not getting into any state for that matter, you know, I will not name any state for that matter, but yes, there have been failures, and I think if there's a SIT set up on this case, there should be something, you know, coming out of certain thing. But let's not, I would say that, you know, I hang my head in shame, and I strongly feel that, you know, these policemen should be given strictest punishment, and they should be thrown out of their services. They should be thrown out of their services because they're not meant for police services. Police is to protect us. Police is to, you know, guard us. But what is happening in any of these states, not just Uttar Pradesh, any of these states is shameful for us, for anybody for that matter. So that is my reply to Ranjana ji. Now.
Well, I do want to bring in Mr. 1 second. I do want to bring in Mr. Sipal Singh, former IGP of Punjab. Mr. Singh, so here's what the police has done so far. Firstly, they didn't file the FIR for the first 30 odd hours. They sent the parents back saying, "जाके खुद ढूंढ लो अपनी बच्ची, और अगर हमें कोई information है तो हम phone करके बता देंगे." So they sent them away. They didn't round up the regular offenders that they knew of in the neighborhood and questioned them. They didn't, in fact, you know, also start looking immediately. They've used, like Ranjana ji was pointing out, NSA as one of the charges today. They've added POXO and NSA. Now, actually, would you say that adding NSA to a case like this will weaken it and confuse it even further instead of sharpening it and making it easier to prove in court?
I am of the view that, by and large, every time the media has to give a jerk before the police gets up from its slumber. The focus of the police has to shift now back to law and order. The focus of the police is not towards law and order. The focus of police in most of the states is towards certain social laws, certain political ideologies, and with the passage of time, they have become very, very lackadaisical and very, very lax in their attitude. First of all, in this case, there was no need to go here and there because, as one of the spokespersons pointed out, under law they could have been registered for criminal case against them for not registering case. Straightway 161 criminal case should have been registered against the police officer. No criminal case has been registered. We say they should be given strictest punishment. What strictest punishment? Suspension is no punishment. Suspension, they can be restored after some time. Suspension is never treated as a punishment. It's a only time gap arrangement, A. B. Why the police focus has changed, all of we know. That the police, whenever some other party come, they go to that. This party, ideologically, social laws, they are overburdened. In fact, I have seen that in addition to the fact that they are very, very lackadaisical, they are extremely overburdened with certain duties which are not strictly law and order duty. Law and order duty can arise in anything. If you want to vacate a land, their law and order duty arise. If there's a land case, you want to have law and order duty. Law and order duty can be consequence to this such long dispute, etc. But what they happen? Oh, the police have not gone. So and so place is under unauthorized occupation. They should remove them. The cognizable offense is only basic duty for the police. In this case, a very, very serious cognizable offense had been committed. The police should have immediately woken up, immediately taken action. But they have gone into that slumber. To bring them back into that mode is take time. So I am of the view that A, there is no doubt now and then you are giving a jerk. B, this slumber they have to wake up and take time, and the senior functionaries of the police have to take now cudgels. With those people who are either lawless goons or those who are not bothered about the society. Now, in this case, for example, one of the accused, it has been alleged, is reported to have misbehaved with his daughter also, and his wife has left the house. Now, this goon has been roaming about in the society. Why under the prohibitive law they could not put behind bar? Why under 110, 107 they could not, such people cannot be put behind bar? The police beat constable is not there. The prohibitive laws, the protective laws, the laws which should govern for creating a full society are not there, not being implemented. He is busy in this thing, he is busy in that thing. Out of the total strength which is there with the police today, say about 119 to 1 lakh population, compared to the other countries with about 350, 250 or so, we are half the strength. And out of this half the strength, half is deployed from other duties. Some are on leave.
Yes.
So you have literally left.
You're absolutely right, and you know, but that doesn't excuse, Mr. Singh. Mr. Singh, I understand that the police force in most of our cities and most of our states is overburdened by the fact that they're on VIP duty. They've just come off election duty. They have to do all of these other things. They have to do bandobast for events that happen, but that doesn't let them off the hook about the fact that this child could have been saved if they took down the complaint and they started looking as soon as the parents had filed that complaint. So I agree with Mr. Singh that that suspension is not enough. Criminal cases should be filed against them. Yes, Mr. Singh, go ahead.
Faye, my submission is, I am not holding a brief that because they are low strength, hence they should go, the things go lackadaisical. I am saying let the focus shift from other duties to law and order. Even with this strength, they will be able to manage. They are just taking it for granted that, all right, let us pass, let us not. Once you ask for registration of case, then the inflation is there. We registered most of the cases. When you say there are not registered, they say, no, this case is not there. So there is no focus. The focus towards law and order instead of law and order has shifted to other duties. That's my point. Yes. Whether there's inadequate strength or adequate strength, there is no excuse at all in such cases.
Okay, I want to bring in Abbas Singh as well. Yes.
The machinery should have come into action.
Yes. I want to bring in Abbas Singh. Abbas Singh, the police, quite rightly, like Mr. Singh pointed out, doesn't move until the media gives it a very unpleasant push, and we've been pushing for the last 2 days. They've added POCSO today, even though the post-mortem doesn't actually suggest any reason for its crime of a sexual nature. They've also added the National Security Act, and we can't figure out why the National Security Act could possibly have been brought in. Is the police now just doing knee-jerk reactions to the media pressure?
Of course, only after the media got active was the FIR registered and police got going. If you remember the Esther case in Mumbai, when the parents went for registering of an FIR, the police did not. They said the girl must have eloped with somebody. And it was the parents who located the dead body of Esther in Vikhroli, salt pan areas. So it clearly shows that no lessons are learned. Children go missing. Police is not bothered. In fact, if you go by the figures of Uttar Pradesh, there has been a 63% increase in the number of kidnappings and abductions of children. 2016 NCRB says almost 10,000 cases of crime against children of such heinous nature. And NSA is now being put down. Do they know that under the Constitution 22 of the Preventive Detention Act, that's the Article 22 which talks of NSA, this is for preventive detention. The crime has already happened, and now because of the media pressure, they are trying to say, look, we are not only filing POCSO and murder, but we are also doing NSA. But the only difference which under NSA would be that the bail would not be easy. To get bail, there would have to be a committee of judges who would look into it for 3 months. So that is what they are trying to say, that they should not get bail and they should not come out and then threaten the family to take back the case or whatever, because that is the reason that witnesses get scared, the families get scared, and the cases they take back or withdraw, or there is no conviction. So that is what they are trying to do, not let them come out on an easy bail. So that is what otherwise they would have got bail very easily. But what is important is that everywhere this such type of cases happen, but you just suspend, and what rightly the earlier speaker said, suspension is no punishment. You get, after 3 months, you get 3/4 of your salary sitting at home for no work. So if they are really serious, they have to be arrested and put behind bars, because when you made a law, please implement that, walk the talk and show to it, because In spite of having death penalty, recently the parliament passed the law that any sexual offence against a child below 12 years. But have you hanged anybody? The Nirbhaya rapists are still waiting for the mercy petition and they've not been hanged.
Yes.
So the message has gone that you may have the law, but it is never implemented.
It's never implemented. Shamina ji is with us as well. Shamina Shafiq is the former member of the National Commission for Women. Shamina ji, and one of our viewers has asked, Amrish Kumar has said, why did the cops refuse to find the girl in the first place? The truth is, for most urban viewers who are at home, who would think that when you go to a police station, you'll get the reaction you deserve. The truth is, outside of our big cities, and sometimes in our big cities, it's not always as one would expect. Would you explain to our audience why police turn away parents who are looking for their little girl?
Faye, I hate to say this, but the matter of fact is when I was in NCW, the highest number of cases which were reported in National Commission for Women were in fact of police apathy. That means the police fails to even get sensitive about the walk-in people who sort of go and complain for whatever crime has been committed. Now, the other thing is that why this kind of an attitude is that of the police. The reason is very simple. There is a lot of pressure from the state political machinery, from the government to ensure that the crime rate actually goes down in the state. And for that matter, they think that it is the most easy thing actually to shoo away some vulnerable parents, some poor people, some woman, some poor farmer, because those are the people who cannot fight for their right. They cannot even talk about their right. So it is much more easy actually to just tell them to go away, get lost, do your own work, and if at all we'll get some information, we'll get back to you. The other thing is, and the most important thing is, which I have been really talking about a lot, and I think it's high time media channels like yours should actually talk about it, and that is that a police station is also a public space. So we need to actually claim, or rather reclaim, that public space. We have all the rights to walk into the police station and get the FIR registered. But because of the political pressures, most of the time, the police stations, the IOs, the beat constable, the circle officers, they do not act because they know that that is going to add a number of cases to their particular station, which will ultimately be questioned as to why so many cases have risen in your area or in your circle. So that is the most important reason as to why police does not really entertain or talks about its duty when it comes to registering an FIR. The other very important thing that I want to tell you is that, see, after Nirbhaya, there were stringent laws made. I think India has one of the best of the laws as far as sexual crime against children or women is concerned. Still, we are unable to ensure that there is prevention of crime against children and girls. The entire work that is the IPC sections that we talk of is basically, we are talking about anything which is post a crime against women or child.
Yes.
I mean, why are we talking about prevention of crime and against whether it's children or women? We are only talking about what sections are going to be imposed once the crime is committed. I mean, for heaven's sake, Twinkle is not coming back. For heaven's sake, the parents, I mean, are really
so, 1 second, Shamina ji, forgive me, I have to interrupt you for a second, but since this morning, since the police have added the POCSO charge onto the case this morning, we will no longer be using the name of the victim, of the deceased victim, or images of her or her family on the channel, because we're prevented by the Supreme Court from releasing any of that information. Aniket Nikam is with us as well. Aniket, we have one of our viewers.
No, I really regret. I really regret.
No, I understand. I just have to put that on. Aniket, I have to ask you this, and our viewers are now asking us, do the police, I mean, when the police fail at prevention in this case, and like the whole panel has pointed out, you know, they're suspended, and we're told that the government is looking into it. Far too often, we're told by state governments, like in this case Uttar Pradesh, that the police is looking into the police. What hope do we have of justice when the police is actually investigating one of their own?
And that's what SIT is all about.
See, Faye, first of all, I must tell you that this casual
investigating on themselves.
The The casual approach of the concerned police officers have failed the family of the victim girl, and because of their casual approach, the victim is not with us today, and it is an extremely unfortunate event. Now, the concerned police officers have been suspended, but as our earlier panelist said, that this punishment is not enough, because under the law there is a categorical provision which says that if a public servant fails to discharge his duty as imposed upon him under the law, then a criminal offence can be registered against that public servant. Now, evidently and admittedly in this case, the concerned police officers took the allegations very lightly, very casually. When it was brought to their notice that the victim girl is missing and she is not to be found, instead of registering a missing complaint and initiating the investigation, they asked the parents to go and find out, and if they are not able to find out, to come again. Now, this casual approach is very unfortunate, and this is the precise reason why an offence must be registered against them. Having said that, now what I also fail to understand as to on what basis the police is invoking the provisions of POCSO, because there is no allegation of sexual assault unless it is revealed in further investigation. Secondly, police has also invoked the provisions of NSA. Now, NSA is meant for those criminals who have to be detained for a period of 1 year. Now, the crime has already happened. I don't see a purpose what it will be serving them. But I heard one of the police officers from Uttar Pradesh saying that this is being done in order to ensure that they don't get bail. But by saying this, do they mean that there are no merits in this case, and that's why they have to invoke the provisions of NSA in order to deny bail to them? Now, this is a case where a young girl has died, and this case doesn't seem to be based on direct evidence. By this I mean this case is not based on evidence of eyewitnesses. Therefore, this is a case which is based on circumstantial evidence. Now, the job of the investigating agency is to concentrate on connecting the dots of these all these events in order to show that the accused persons who have been arrested are the only ones who are responsible for this crime and no one else. Now, instead of doing that, they are trying to play to the media and gallery by saying that we have invoked this, we have invoked that, and we are doing this and we are doing that, without actually being serious about their investigation. Coming back to your question, Faye, when you asked me whether this is a case of police investigating police, I think that because the concerned police officers were involved in the sense that they did not take any cognizance of the complaint initially, therefore now the government has formed SIT. But as far as this SIT is concerned, it must be monitored by senior ranking IPS officers who will inspire confidence, and this has to be also court monitored, because ultimately what will happen is that these police officers who are this SIT team which is investigating the role of the concerned police officers might get influenced because of the local connections that they may have.
Well, you know what, one second. I want to bring in Ranjana ji.
Can I say something, F.A.?
Yes, okay, go ahead. Ranjana ji, go ahead.
I think he's articulated it very nicely. I mean, everything he has said is what we've been saying, and I also said in the beginning of the program. But what is very important here is that why SIT? Because you see, the police is already arrested, police is already suspended, police has already found the dead body, police has to now collect the circumstantial evidence. So what is this whole thing about? This is only a response to the media. Because when you start getting, oh, your name is getting soiled, UP government is, the whole lawlessness, they have to cover up now. This is a cover-up act. This is not an act where any kind of justice will be delivered, because this is going to be indefinite investigation, and then finally when everybody's eyes are closed to this whole issue, then you remember all the earlier cases. Do you remember all the earlier cases? What happened to all those cases? So that is what is precisely, that is why women and children in our country are becoming every day more unsafe. That is why whatever we are doing in some other media channel, they were telling us, oh, so what happened to civil society? You are trying to silence the voices of everybody, and then you want to ask what happens to civil society. How will that work? How anybody on this earth going to be really feeling responsible towards babies? First you targeted women are targeted anyway, and now even little babies are not being spared. So is conscience not shaking of some people who are sitting here in the political power, sitting on all kinds of, systems? Now we have, home ministries in the nation, national government and the state government, such police paraphernalia. What is happening? Why is law not working for women and children? For why baby girls are not getting protected? Now, are they not asking this question to each other? Are they being able to look into the eyes of each other and say, look at this little child, look at this infant, look at the way whatever they have done to her. So I feel that, this is not something that, we can just keep debating.
I also want to put out another angle, if I may.
All right.
166. Yes, Ranjanaji. I just want to put out an angle, and I'll ask the panelists from now on to keep.
I'm saying I want to see a case. I want to see a case of 166 on police, because you created this government, this country is government. I don't want to know which government created this law. Why you are not able to use that?
All right. 1 second. Allow me to get a word in edgewise. I'd also request all of our panelists to keep their answers shorter so that we can give everybody an opportunity to speak. 1 second, Aniket.
1 second. 166. Okay.
All right, 1 second. I just want to put out also that there has been in this case a lot of fake information that has done the rounds. From the beginning, this story has done the rounds on social media, and it is our duty as journalists to put out the information that we have. The post-mortem details and the police confirmation says that the child's eyes were not gouged out. In fact, the body was heavily decomposed too. It appeared so, but that was not the truth. And an arm and a leg were in fact broken. The cause of the death has been listed in the post-mortem as shock due to injuries. There was peeling of skin and maggots present all over the body, but there's no mention of an acid attack. It's decomposition of the body. There's no mention, according to the post-mortem, there's no evidence of sexual assault. So it is largely most of the things that have been doing the rounds or people assumed was brutality actually turns out to be the decomposition of the body. And I'll go back to the panel right now, because that's another, risk that we run as a society. When a case like this happens, everybody jumps in and puts in their 2 pence and then passes it around on social media, and it turns into a much bigger thing. It's important also to keep this down to the absolute facts, because it puts pressure on the police to do unreasonable things like bring in the NSA, which is what they've done. Aniket Nigam, now go ahead, please.
The learned panelist said that she wants section 166 to be imposed and invoked. But let me tell her that 166 is bailable in nature. So that will also not serve our purpose, because these officers will not go inside then and they'll be granted bail. So this also requires that there has to be an amendment in Code of Criminal Procedure in respect of such cases where the police officers fail to discharge their duties in heinous offences like this.
Understood.
Because 166 is carved out in general nature, where there is failure on part of any officer to... Yeah.
All right. Abha Singh, it's also important for people on social media to be responsible, because this puts pressure on the police and they do knee-jerk irresponsible things.
Definitely, absolutely. I mean, eyes gouged out and all those things, like the hand was cut out. These gory incidents should not be put out, but it does create some communal flavor. It creates a lot of strife. So we have to give police some space to investigate, but police cannot be absolved. But one thing is very important, but do you see that around there is one constable for 750 people in the area? For the common man, there are hardly any cops. Whatever cops are there, they are either doing VIP bandobast or they are running after politicians, looking after their cows and whatever it is. So I think now we need to look into it, that all the police should be there for law and order. This clearly shows that local intelligence has failed, because if the child was just nearby, why could they not investigate all the houses around? Because a 2-year-old child could have just not vanished into the thin air. So that means the investigative skills of the police is lacking. Their messengers in the ground level, they are lacking, and somewhere the will to protect women and children is not there. Even you see the conviction rate in these cases is very poor. Children, the evidences cannot be there. They cannot speak in the courts. In this case, the girl is no more. So definitely the overall perspective is a very sad state of affairs. UP is #1 in the number of crime that take place against young children, and people are sitting quiet about it. Highest crime against in abduction, killing, rape, and we are quiet. What does it say when you have the Prime Minister coming from that state? Narendra Modi represents Uttar Pradesh. Home Minister till now, Rajnath Singh, represented Uttar Pradesh. I would like these politicians to come and explain why such things are happening in their own state.
Well, Tina Sharma, do you want to respond to that? At the end of the day, we've had no statement at all from anyone in government. No one has said anything. The Chief Minister hasn't said anything. None of the new ministers sworn into the union government has said anything. What's going on? Why is there such silence on this case?
See, I earlier, requested that, you shouldn't be asking me this because I will not be able to give you any answer on this because I was away for 3 days and was not watching TV. So I think that's not right on my part to give answer on this since I have not
that is no reply
followed
when
the
you are the
television for last 3
spokesperson of the
days.
party.
But
That is
anyways,
not
whatever.
expected. That is not expected from the spokesperson of the party.
She's asking me that she Abhaji, she's asking me whether, BJP people have visited the victim's family or not visited or made any statement or not made any statement. I mean, I'm not in a position to comment on that. Simple. That's what I said. And if there's no statement, then I regret. If there's no statement till date come up from political parties or from our party, I regret for it. I absolutely regret for it. And I think it should not be, for me, debating on another child rape is not the case. For me, it's like my own child. So I'm so sensitive for girls, and you all know that. So let us not drag me in this politics. I'm just absolutely
Tina
saying
Sharma,
that this is wrong.
I'm going to stop you here, Tina Sharma. Nobody wants to make you a victim, please.
That if you are the spokesperson.
Yes, Tina Sharma, nobody's dragging you into politics. From what I understand, you voluntarily joined the BJP and then came here as a spokesperson. Nobody dragged you. We invited you. You accepted the invitation. You know what the topic was. You knew what the questions were likely to be. If you do not have the answers, I will stop asking you questions.
I can't comment whether...
If you don't have answers as a representative of your party, I will stop asking questions.
I said I can't comment.
All right, let me just take this back to Shamina ji, former member of the National Commission for Women.
I also said if somebody is not visited and somebody is not given a statement, I regret for it. I actually regret for it.
Ms. Sharma, with all due respect to you, and I appreciate your personal opinion, but the opinion that we really need at this point is the opinion of the party that you represent. But if you don't have that opinion, then it's fine. I will move on to other members of the panel. Shamina ji, there has been, of course, and we have to acknowledge this, there is a religious tilt that has been given to this case because the victim and her family were Hindu. The murderers in this case who have been arrested by the police, through their names, it is obvious that they're Muslim, which means that there is pressure on the police in this particular case. Now, this is again a risk that we run because the police is now going to also do more knee-jerk things instead of actually doing the best they can to make sure that they collect the evidence, they present it before the magistrate, and they make a watertight case to ensure that these two people who are accused, and I'll tell you their names because it's been put out by the police, that these two people, Zahid and Aslam, never see daylight again. They should be locked up for the rest of their lives, and under the POCSO, the death penalty is also completely valid to be called into play. Is the police being responsible, Shamina ji, given how they have accumulated the evidence so far?
You know what, I really feel and I really pray that these two criminals should never see the light of the day. And as far as policing is concerned, criminals are just criminals, no matter what religion they belong to, because obviously they are not practicing any religion. Had they been practicing, they would not even have the audacity and guts to commit such crime. But when you talked about, I mean, the kind of hush the police is trying to do now in terms of knee-jerk reaction. I'm sorry, but this is how most of the time we see police acting. There are knee-jerk reactions. And these knee-jerk reactions are because of, at least there are channels like yours, Mira, now that they bring out such stories and they put pressure on people and especially police to act. At the same time, the social media that you talk about, yes, it adds fuel to the fire, whether bringing communal color into it or whether giving misinformation to the public at large. But you know what? If that is bringing the police to act, if that is ensuring that the police acts, so be it. If we are not getting what we actually deserve as far as policing is concerned, as far as law and order is concerned, then if this is the way, then I'm really sorry, but fair enough. because we don't want our children to be subjected to such violence ever again in the life. The second thing, the political messaging that you talk about. I don't want to get into politics, but I want to just bring one thing to your point. Very recently, a member of parliament from Unnao visited a rape accused in Sitapur jail, and what kind of a political messaging was given. So thus these messaging also actually encourage criminals, perpetrators to do whatever they want, because they know that at the end of the day, the politicians, the police, the system, they will all forget
I understand what you're saying, Shamina ji. Unfortunately, I have to stop you there because we've run out of time. In conclusion to this particular case, while I thank my panelists, I will simply say this. There has been a lot of talk about this particular case on social media. There has been a lot of the specifics about the brutality that has been quoted on social media. This evening, I know that we feel very strongly about cricket, but everybody is discussing a glove. A glove would make no difference to this little girl and the other little girls that we should save, or we should be able to save in our country. A 2-year-old child was murdered perhaps in the most brutal fashion. Evidence shows that the police completely neglected to do their job, and had they done their job, this child would be alive today. To me, this is the bigger story than a glove, with all due respect to the people who care about the glove and the cricket. This is the post-mortem, and I'm reading this out because there's a lot of fake news doing the rounds, and this is the police version of the post-mortem, and you need to know the difference, or you need to know the latest information between what is true and what is not. It says that the death was due to antemortem injuries, that there is no sign of sexual assault on the victim, that the body was decomposed and maggots were present all over the body. The victim's right hand was amputated and the left leg was fractured. That animal bites were found on the victim's body. Insects were present inside the victim's bones, and the bones were exposed. This is what the post-mortem report says, the one that was released today. We can't bring this girl back, but we could have saved her. The UP police turned the parents away. When they came in on the first day when their child was missing, they said, go back and look for your child, and if we have any information, we'll let you know. They filed the FIR only 30 hours after the child went missing. They didn't question all of the suspected pedophiles in that area. Had they done so, one of the 2 people who've been arrested for this crime would have been questioned. They invoked the POCSO Act only after media pressure, and they have acted against the errant cops only after media pressure. The police has now suspended members in that police station who didn't file the complaint, but suspension is not enough. Those police officers who didn't take the complaint and didn't start looking for this little girl immediately were partly responsible for her death because they could have saved her. There must be criminal action taken against them. Our thoughts and our prayers remain with the family who lost their little one. Good night.